Golf's no different from hockey. Requires talent, self-discipline.
Golf requires goofy pants and a fat ass. You should talk to my neighbor, the accountant, probably a great golfer, huge ass.
How do you measure yourself with other golfers? By height.
It's a very, very special honor.
I'm Paula Creamer, and you're listening.
Well, we're waiting.
Hi, this is Martin Cove, a.k.a. John Kreese from Cobra Kai, and you're listening to
Quiet, Please.
Let the word go out from here across the land. Let Daddy Noonan approve.
Hi, boys. Nice day for golf, isn't it? Quiet, please. Oh, you got secrets, eh?
Hey, this is Shooter McGavin. You're listening to the...
Hey, you guys. Hey, we're trying to have a podcast over here.
And like a backyard fire pit, the fire may be over, but the embers are still burning a little bit as we debate Ryder Cup 2025. I'm Alan Depew. You found Quiet Please, the golf podcast. And as always, I've got a full house today. I'm excited about this because everybody's here. I've got B.E., Brendan Elliott.
Good morning.
Boston Bob.
I get to say good evening.
It is a rare daytime edition of the show. And Christian Nazamis, our prettiest podcaster. And
up,
you know
boys?
what? I got to throw this in there. The ever-present one is literally chiming in from a tournament site as he's about to tee it up.
Yes,
Mr. Andy Hydorn.
They do allow fivesomes at the Quiet Please golf club.
Yeah. It's all about pace of play.
Yeah,
That's right.
110%. Pace of play was good, except for rulings on the 14th hole in the final round at Beth. I mean, guys, I'm just going to sit back and orchestrate because our text thread since Sunday has just been nonstop.
I think
What, Bobby, I'm telling you right now, you were pretty damn close, weren't you?
I was off by half a point, and I know you had Europe winning, and that was pretty close. Yeah.
And before I'm going to jump in and tell you that I still think I would have hit mine, but it was like a major league ball club that has a 3-0 lead in a series, and Europe just took their foot off the gas because they would have crushed. I mean, they crushed them. It was everybody wants to talk about Sunday. Everybody wants to talk about the Sunday comeback, but the Sunday comeback was
Sunday comeback. We wouldn't have had to have a big comeback if the USA had a chance going into it on Sunday. We didn't stand a chance going into Sunday. We all knew it. So I get the comeback and the story would have been amazing, but we put ourselves in that position to have to win 10 out of 12 matches to even have a chance. We looked like shit the first 2 days. I'll say it. I don't care.
All right. So let's try to keep some order here as opposed to the fans at Bethpage. One key takeaway, and I'm just going to go in rotation to my screen. One key takeaway, BE, you go first, and let's just debate them all because I mean, literally, it's there's so much to talk about.
Key takeaway regarding golf.
Just everything about it. Golf fans,
putting,
everything.
Putting, and the fact of putting freely and putting when you just got run over by like make after make after make, and then the US just felt it to me. It felt like they were white knuckling a steering wheel, and they weren't putting freely. And McGinley kept saying that. A lot of people kept saying that throughout the first 2 days that you can't putt that way, and that's what dumped the hole. I don't think I think statistically the U.S. squeaked out strokes gained from tee to green, but on the greens they just got destroyed. I think Europe was like +9 or something like that in strokes gained on the green. So, AD, you should have been one of the vice captains because you are probably one of the best putters on the planet.
Well. They interviewed me, but
I'm not going to argue with that.
Wait. Like Stuart Sink, they interviewed me for an hour and then they never called me back. But anyway, I agree. I mean, and Bryson leads the charge. I mean, the guy is so stiff trying to putt. I mean, there's that commercial going on around right now with Kevin Hart, and I think where he plays his caddy, he goes, "Why does it look like you have a stick up your butt every time you're trying to putt?"
Yeah.
All right, Andy, what you got?
I mean, I think that my key takeaway is that the PGA of America should be embarrassed for what they've done here. And in particular, there's a lot of pieces to it, but in particular, the way that they felt like it was important to goad on the fans to be part of this competition. Like, just doing that, what else do you think a fan can do to have any effect at all? They're not going to say cheer louder. They're going to do all the shit that they did, and it's ridiculous. And it's the most embarrassing thing is the person from the PGA of America saying "fuck you, Rory" on a live, PA system. Like, I'm sorry, but that's an absolute disgrace.
Yep. No arguments, I think, from our group. Christian, what you got?
I think Andy said it perfectly. I think it was an utter embarrassment almost at the end of the day. I'm all for booing when it comes. Like, it's part of the Ryder Cup. It's a history of it. Okay, you can heckle golfers all day long. It's part of what makes the tournament great. You have to do it to an extent, though. When I saw some things online of fans calling Shane Lowry a Teletubby, why are you saying that? You guys are rooting for him to win an Open Championship a few years ago, and you're rooting for him in normal events. Why are you calling him that today? I get New York fans are ruthless, but that was just an utter embarrassment. I mean, there's no room for that. And I have a part 2 to that I want to get into later, but I also had some issues too with Rory this week as well, with some of the things that he was saying back to the fans.
That's an interesting point, because I think Zinger said that well. I agree.
He wants to have golf be held to a higher standard, so you don't have to yell back to the fans, "Oh, fuck you, whatever it is," and also don't cover up Bryson's name with the European flag. I just thought it was kind of petty at times when he did that, and I think if somebody in the caliber of where Rory sits today and how likable he is and how big he's the biggest name in golf. He's the biggest name since Tiger.
Would you ever seen Tiger do that?
Absolutely not.
No.
But I'm just saying that's where I had an issue with him doing that, because that he's going to get criticized for whatever he does on the course, just like Tiger did back in the early 2000s. And no matter if it's Scotty, if it's him, whoever it is, you have to hold yourself more accountable to that. And I just thought it was kind of childish for him.
Can I just add to that? Because I couldn't agree more. You guys know how much I love Rory, but if in your preparation for the Ryder Cup, you're not expecting anything and everything to be said to you. Now, throwing a beer at your wife, I don't know that anyone could expect that. But the heckling and stuff like that, like, I agree, Christian. I don't understand how Rory could allow himself to get worked up about that.
He should have known it was coming in before. I mean, he should expect that every tournament. Basically, people aren't going to like him. I get it, right?
It's like Earl Woods,
absolutely
Tiger when he was a kid, right?
I just thought he would have handled it a little bit differently, especially after the press conference too, saying how golf needs to be held to a higher standard, and I think we all agree on that. But
and in the presser, dropping the F-bomb also, abso-effing-lutely, whatever.
Yeah,
Bobby, what you got?
Oh man, what do I have? I mean, I'm ready to start talking next hour. We're going to tell you. I've never had so many phone calls, texts, and emails from fellow PGA pros around the country that are disgusted and embarrassed about what happened. It doesn't reflect Brendan and myself as PGA members, but it was awful. Culturally, this whole Ryder Cup thing's got to change for the U.S. I'm aware of some things from when I worked inside the building. I'm aware of some of the dynamics, the task force that was created. It just was just awful. I was working at headquarters 12 years ago when this was announced. I think Ted Bishop was president. And, right off the bat, it was like, oh, my goodness, it's going to be crazy in New York right off the bat. So for 12 years, there's been preparation. I've read so much stuff about people in line couldn't get enough food, and 50,000 people in a facility that really 35 would have been max, because they've had big events there, and 35,000 max is it. And that's with people on 18 different holes, players, not the 4 little matches going on and then hours of nothing happening. I think back to, I went to PGA Village as a GM in June of 2007. A month later, I was at the PGA Championship in Tulsa. I'm staying miles away from the site at a Hilton Garden Inn, not a fancy place. And I walked down for breakfast because I was there for a PGA board meeting. And I got out of breakfast this one morning, and there's 5 or 6 tables pulled together, European players with their caddies side by side, eating cereal, having coffee, like congregating. And I couldn't believe Ian Poulter was there, Darren Clark, I think, was there, like these big names. Oh my God, Lee Westwood was there. And I walked down and I'm like, I'm at a Hilton Garden Inn. It's not a fancy one. The American players are staying at fancy. But this goes back to 2007. I think culturally it's just way different with the Europeans. I think culturally this whole thing has to change the way the Ryder Cup. I've got notes all over the place here I've been keeping. I have solutions. I always want to be solution based. Am I ticked off? Yes. Am I embarrassed? I mean, as a second generation PGA member, my dad's generation would have just lost it to see what this happened. You know, yeah, if Nicholas and Palmer were playing, you don't see any of this stuff, but it was awful, flat out awful.
So I'll throw out mine, and if you guys want to jump on that, maybe that's where we could start deeper diving on some of the topics. As you know, in our text thread, I just think A, golf course setup, and B, I think that the team composition, we get so beholden to players 7 through 15 on that list that we don't look at the people that are maybe playing the hottest over the. I'm thinking of Keegan,
yep,
23. I'm thinking of Chris Glover in 23. I'm thinking of Chris Goddard, Andy, in 25. But we don't even consider those guys. And then we did kind of take some of the better putters this time. You thought, but are they the better putters? Or you have, I mean, I'm sorry. Why was Morikawa on that team? I'm Colin Morikawa is an incredible talent. He's a champion. I can't argue that. But come on.
You could say the same thing about Harris English. I know he was an automatic bid, but like you could say the same thing about him. He didn't show up this week. Half our team didn't show up this week.
To your point, he's an automatic bid. He's not a captain.
You're right. No, you're right.
And Morikawa is the forbidden fruit, right? He's on an inexperienced team. He's a guy who's got 2 majors. But, I mean, to the eye test, he's had a bad year, and he can't putt. Like, his putting at the Ryder Cup was horrific.
Atrocious. Same with Xander, to be honest with you. Xander's putting was awful.
Xander
played okay though. In all
Xander too much, Christian, in my opinion.
No, I know. I think Xander. I think he could have made a lot more putts, though. Personally, I think looking at that, he didn't play bad overall. He was one of. I mean, let's be honest. Captain America this week was Cam Young. Not even a question.
Awesome.
No one played better.
But to Andy's point, on an inexperienced team, there's a rookie that performs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I think
I understand, and well, actually I don't, because I don't understand the pressure cooker of the Ryder Cup. But these guys are tour battle tested, 90% of them. So why would you take Morikawa? I mean, I don't want to keep focusing on Colin, but even his major, he's gone through stretches where literally he cannot put the putter on the ball.
And that was 4 or 5 years ago, his majors.
Yeah. Horrible selection. And then as was much publicized, and I hate to say it, I'll throw this at Keegan. They put the respective pairings together. The English Morikawa pairing was 132nd out of 132 options.
Right?
Yeah, that one didn't make any sense at all.
And then you do it twice?
Yep.
Well, then, the whole planning, there's so much data out there, and that's one of the data points. And then I didn't hear this firsthand, but I've read it twice, so it's got to be true, corroborated. But on the first tee, the caddies are part of the discussion in the foursomes, who's going to hit from odd number and even number holes. Really at the last minute, you're deciding that. You do that at a club event when it's Joe and Harry getting together, but the Ryder Cup, you have months and months and months to hopefully pre-plan and put the teams together. My goodness.
We've been talking about this. The U.S. has lost 9 out of the last 12. Is that what it was?
Correct.
This is a cultural thing. It's how golf is been propagated in our country versus Europe for decades and decades and decades. It's how they play club golf over there versus how everything's so individualized over here. And PGA Junior League was a good start, but even Bobby and I talk about the PGA of America. They've taken their foot off the gas with doing programming, like dollars going into programming, and we can get into those weeds if we want to on how money's allocated within the PGA, but this is never going to get fixed. Europe, and look, it's not life and death. That was my biggest point throughout the whole week of trying to soften some of this. It's golf. However, when you bring in a major sports organization that's just totally mismanaging how they do things, from the grassroots to the inner workings, this is always going to be the result 9 out of 10 times as we go forward in the Ryder Cup. There's got to be a fundamental philosophical change in how we do things here in America. Well,
I think at the end of the day, the Europeans wanted it more. They had a closer team than we did. They since the minute they got off that flight coming to New York City, they mentally knew they weren't going to lose, right? And I don't think the U.S. had that. And I've been saying it for a long time now, where I even on the show, I think we on the American team, we pick players based off of likability, whether they're playing well or not. Nobody wants to watch, no offense to Chris Gotterup, nobody wants to watch him on TV. That's ridiculous. He's a better player than Morikawa was all season long, right? Go back to the last Ryder Cup. Lucas Glover and Keegan should have been on that team, but they Zach Johnson opted for more veteran experience. Cam Young proved this week that you don't need experience in the Ryder Cup to play well. He was the best player.
There's stats behind that, Christian. There's data behind that he's actually do better than the so-called veterans. Yeah,
absolutely. Overall, he was the most confident player on our team all week. And, it was a hell of a match against Justin Rose, first off, that he played. And I think that really set the tone for the rest of the day to even have a chance. But every time he played in 4-ball, it was just amazing to watch. He was, if you told me at the beginning of the week who was going to be the best player, I think we all would have said Scotty, just based off of his year. Scotty played like shit.
Yeah,
but he was open about it.
BE or Andy, one of you two throughout the stats.
To his caliber, Scotty. And I think so. When I say that Scotty played like shit, I'm not saying he played like it to his caliber of what he did. And I know that the 4-ball wasn't his fault. I get that, but he didn't have his best stuff this week, and I think we all can agree on that.
You're right, and that goes back to my point about how professional golf is perceived. Well, not just professional, but coming up as juniors, and how golf is done over the pond versus here. And I don't know if there's a solution, because typically the best players, individual players on the planet, typically are American players. But when you get into this scenario, Scotty's not the first one to struggle. We've talked about this before. Tiger has a horrendous Ryder Cup record. And the only reason he's on the points list is because he played in so many goddamn matches. But, what is he, like 13-29 or something like that?
13, 23, and 5, I believe.
Yeah, it's just, and Scotty has that same mindset that Tiger has, to an extent, when it comes to competition. Off the course, Scotty's head is in a much better place than Tiger's ever was. But again, I just feel like there's got to be fundamental changes on how the Ryder Cup is approached by the Americans.
Yeah, I think what Christian said is 100% true, that the in again to what you're saying too, Brendan, like the approach is the thing. I almost think it's too natural and not contrived, right? Meaning that the U.S. players get pumped up for the Ryder Cup, like when it's happening, or maybe, when the picks are being made. Ryder Cup players from Europe, they're talking about this shit tomorrow.
All the time.
Talking about Adare Manor.
Adare Manor's already on the conversation.
Absolutely.
So these guys, it's so part of who they are as professionals, where the Americans, it's not an identity thing for them as golfers and professional golfers. And I don't know that there's really a way to fix that. I mean, it's certainly not a conscious thing. It's got to be an inbred thing that starts at some point and builds over time, because that's what Europe has. This thing is built over time through people like Sebi and Ollie and now Luke. Like, these are things that have built over time, and you can't just say, oh, we're going to be more like them and be that way. You can't do that.
Andy,
I think there's something else. Yeah, I was say there's something else that crossed my mind Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as this week went along, looking at the narrative, looking at the responses, looking at everything that's happening. And for the first time, I think it's if the PGA of America should continue to run the Ryder Cup. Like, that's a big, coming from me, that's a big deal.
I've heard that too this week.
Yeah, and the reason the PGA of America has this, basically, when the PGA of America was running everything in the tournament player division, split off with Jack and Arnie, Kelly Elman's dad, Max Elman, was president in 68, 69, 70. The PGA Tour split. And basically, the tour said, you keep the Ryder Cup. It's a dog. It loses money. Nobody cares. PGA America kept it, and now we've got this cash cow. So that's the really brief description there. But as it stands now, some of the solution things I thought about were, right now it's under the championship department. The Ryder Cup is with the PGA Championship, the Senior PGA, the Women's KPMG, but all those things. I think it needs its own dedicated silo, like own division, completely own division. And now if you need a captain, a coach, and to keep tapping these tour players, they're phenomenal, crazy phenomenal golfers, but are they really a captain coach? Did they devote 2 years to that? Should Azinger come back? He proved he could do pretty well. Should you have a Mike Small, who's a PGA member, running Illinois golf program? Mike's a coach. He's a captain. You look at this completely different. Do you just random draw a PGA member that so-and-so, Toby Hearn from New England, my buddy, could be handing the Ryder Cup out instead of the president? Why is the national officers get in there and it's all about them? And why not a random PGA pro give away a handout on behalf of 30, 31, 30, how do you know how many PGA members now, because the number keeps changing. But what about the average PGA member just handing the PGA Championship? I mean, a million things went through my head this week that is really got to change.
Yeah, I think the one major thing for me is to not have a contemporary as your captain. Like, and I know that there's pros to that, like the Tom Watson being out of touch and all that other stuff, but you got to find a happy medium there, because you can't have peer pressure to pick Justin Thomas. Be part of what you're doing. You can't have peer pressure to pick Colin Morikawa. That can't be part of it. And I don't believe Luke feels any of that.
No, I think the PGA of America screwed Keegan in picking him personally, if I'm being honest. Like, I think that he should never have been. He should never have been the captain in the first place. I don't think that if somebody is playing currently and I'm talking to the extent of what Keegan was doing, you should not be a captain. It should be somebody who has retired. It should go pick up like Tom Watson, Tiger Woods, even talk about Phil potentially as a captain. Like those are the people that you need to start considering to be the captain, because the European team is a Ryder Cup, they are a powerhouse right now. Luke Donald is the best Ryder Cup European captain of all time, right? The stuff that he was doing, it's a bold take, but I'll say
close. He's close.
Okay, but the stuff that he was even doing this week in their hotel rooms, in that press conference, when he was saying some of that stuff, I'm looking at that and I'm like, what's going to happen in Ireland in a few years, right? I think I do think
because they have
it's not even going to be
12 people that are deep, Christian. They're so deep.
I understand that, but a lot of things could also happen in the next couple of years where that Ryder Cup team could look a hell of a lot different on the European side coming into it. I just hope that moving forward, and the U.S. side too, I hope moving forward that we look at our Ryder Cup team as, okay, I'm not going to skip over somebody like a Brian Harmon this year or Andrew Novak or Chris Gotterup because they're not big name people. I don't buy that crap anymore from whatever, because Russell Henley's not a big name. He's a big name, but not to the likability of a Rory or a Scotty. When he was coming down the stretch in a singles match, and then everything else, people are in that crowd are yelling Russell Henley, like they're getting into it. They would do the same thing if it was Gotterup. They would do the same thing if it was Ben Griffin or Maverick McNeely or whoever it was. They're going to back the team that they put on that course.
Right.
They got to stop looking past the likability part of it, like a Colin Morikawa, especially when he's had a shit year. When Maverick McNeely always had better.
I think recent form should be the number one.
Absolutely.
Of who gets picked.
100%.
Because Cam Young breaks out and wins the BMW. Was that what he won?
Yeah. No.
No.
It was before the Charlotte.
One of the playoff events. But the point is that he got over the hump. His form was great. Like, was anybody really surprised that he played well?
No, not even close.
No.
It kind of reminds me of when Gary Young was on the show. We were asking him about hole locations, and he goes, "We have one rule. If you have a question about whether it's a good one or not, it's not a good one." And that should be the same way with a Ryder Cup pick. If you're picking Colin Morikawa and you're questioning whether he'll get over his poor form, it's not a good pick.
No, it was a terrible pick. It was just like a Justin Thomas a few years back when Zach Johnson picked him. It was an awful pick.
But it worked. That year worked. But
yes.
He was.
Yes, I agree.
He was acceptable in
He was
Rome.
acceptable. This one, this pick, some of these picks this week weren't acceptable in my view. I'm obviously wrong all the time, but when I look at that team and I say, okay, Colin, that guy changes putters more than he changes his probably underwear at the end of the day. I mean, he changes putters 20 times in a season.
Let's call a spade a spade. Keegan Bradley should have been on the team, not coaching the team.
I mean, he would have by the rule of this part of the conversation about form, he would have been a huge asset to that team.
100%. Go pick Jim Furyk as our captain next time.
Let me just say this, because as Mark is his father is a great guest of their show and what have you. And you can see his pride as a dad, and who want your kid's the Ryder Cup captain. But I believe, Andy, I agree with you. I don't think the contemporary should be. I think it should be somebody slightly removed. I know there's going around social right now is we need Mickelson. No, we don't. But I mean, but we need somebody maybe slightly removed. That's going to have a little bit of
a hole in the head. We need Mickelson.
I think there's only one person that is able to do the job of being a Ryder Cup captain, where they come in, everybody likes this individual on tour. He's so well liked, and there's only one person that can go into Ireland and actually give us a chance of winning.
And I think we're all none other Eldrick
than Tiger Woods.
100%.
He's the only captain, in my personal opinion, that can come in there. Because let's be honest here, Tiger's back, but he's not back full time. He'll never be back full time. He'll play in the majors. That's it. Okay. He's the only person that can come in there to physically get the job done. Everybody respects Tiger for what he's done on our team. He will have that Luke Donald effect this week coming in, because right now they're already writing us off for 2 years.
Well,
I like Bobby's suggestion. I really do like Bobby's suggestion about getting a real coach in there, like maybe not even a PGA professional, like a coach, like a, who won the NCAAs last year? Was it Auburn?
No, Ole Miss, I thought. No.
Ole Miss. Maybe get one of those guys in there. Like, there's a big difference between making someone be a coach and having someone that's a coach.
This would be a huge statement for us if we were going to Ireland and win the Ryder Cup in a couple of years, because in my opinion, we should be embarrassed how we've performed the last few, outside of Whistling Straits. I get that, but like really, we have not played well in Ryder Cups since then.
Do you remember when, I think it was the Kiowa Ryder Cup with Langer and the putt on the last hole?
Yeah.
Wasn't Bernard Gallagher the captain for the Europe side?
Good question. Let me check.
If it wasn't that one, he had captained a couple of times, but he was one of those guys that, like, you never knew him as a player, right? You knew him as a Ryder Cup captain, and you know that's there's some value to that.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it was him.
It was him. But he was one of those guys. Do you ever remember him as a standout player?
Right.
No,
I don't.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel strongly that the way things have always been done is not going to work anymore. And the same people that get you into this issue are the same people trying to get you out. It's the same mindset, same thinking. You go on and on about all those quotes and stuff like that. I do think is it Coach K? Is it I'm not saying it's Phil Jackson, but is it
Michael Jordan?
Is it Tiger's got the gravitas to do it. I hear early prediction. I don't see the U.S. winning at Adare Manor. I think it's going to be really competitive and close. I think it gets better. I think when they come back in 2029, back to Hazeltine for the 2029, it's going to take sort of that amount of time, I think. But I think looking at the whole, like really stepping back 72 paces and looking at the whole thing, how it's selected, the captain's pick, the continuity going forward, just lots of solutions. Maybe, right now it's the pick six, you get six that make it, six that don't. Is it all 12? Like we were texting, I said, do you take the 12 best putters, the 12 best up and down? Because it is a putting contest when it comes down to it.
They can all hit the shots. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, at that level, they're all playing pretty, they can hit the green.
Right. So, but it's also, though, like, sorry, Alan, just one last point. Like, Russell Henley's a great putter. Russell Henley left a 15-footer short on the last hole. So it's not necessarily all about your putting stats. It's about the size of your huevos too, You
got to look at it from like maybe a 2-month window out. Who's playing the best golf at that time? Because there was a stretch there where Chris Gotterup was hotter than anybody.
There is a unsubstantiated thing going on social, and we touched on this, by the way, because we looked back to 23. The Europeans played their way into 2023. The Europeans played, and we actually, I think it was even this last show, we said, our guys played a little bit, as opposed to taking 5 weeks off. There is a report that the European guys were on Bethpage for like 12 times, and the American team was on there like 2 or 3 times leading up to the competition. I mean, come on. What are we doing? Are we preparing? Andy, you're sitting at a tournament site. I'm sure you just didn't show up.
I prepped yesterday.
I knew that.
Yeah,
I knew that.
You American.
I think
he's so good.
I think this team was just overhyped. If I'm being honest with you, like I've said it since day one. Like I don't think we stood a chance. Like I was trying to root for the U.S. because obviously I'm American, but like at the end of the day, it's this team, this European team has just had dominance the last 4 or 5 Ryder Cups. They're a family at the end of the day, and I don't think we have that on our team.
Nope.
I don't think it's even close. And you could have the European team could play like ass coming into a Ryder Cup, and we could be dominant, but we still get kicked in the ass because it's that family atmosphere that I think their captains put upon them. Luke Donald put that on them since day one.
We've seen that happen before. Like how many times does Sergio in the Ryder Cup, had such a crappy year, and he goes in and he plays great in the Ryder Cup. Lee Westwood.
Absolutely.
I mean, like those guys did that.
The Europeans have it figured out, and we need to figure it out.
Bobby
Poulter. Yeah.
they've had it figured out for quite some time, and we really need to figure it out. I think if I'm on that executive committee at the PGA of America, they really need to figure this shit out for going into Ireland, because it's a serious problem, and I think that they really need, especially after the way the Ryder Cup ended, with the fans yelling and people being fired and over, like, the cops everywhere and stuff like that, throwing drinks at Rory's wife. It was just ridiculous. Like, they really need to figure it out going into the next Ryder Cup, and I think it's a very big one, more so than any others in the past, if I'm being honest.
So I'm going to invoke the envelope rule and discuss the envelope rule.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it, because there was compelling.
I was going to say, Brendan, you like foreshadowed this, right?
I kind of. There was good arguments on both sides. There really was. Like Luke Donald was saying, hey, this is the way it's always been. It's played out twice before, even though it's a kind of an obscure thing. But then at the same time, Keegan had some really compelling arguments on, other sports. If a player's hurt, like, you have to sub somebody in. And so I don't know if a solution would be just the match goes to the guy that showed up to the first tee and was ready to play, or do you have a reserve player in the wings, or two reserve players in the wings? I don't know.
Well, like a lot of other
you have to
things,
withdraw, right?
Like a lot of other things, though, it's never an issue until it becomes an issue, right?
Yep.
Even though everybody's known for years that that's been the rule, it's never really had an effect until now. So, like a lot of other rules, it's time to look at it and consider some changes.
And it doesn't come up unless Sunday happens, but I agree, Andy. And, maybe I thought of this is the assistant captains is their pecking list as far as a backup that gets in there that is on the bench. Yeah, it's the old next man up.
Danny Noonan, maybe?
Danny Noonan. Andy Heidorn.
Yeah.
Shoot it.
I think it needs to be. I think they have to just take a look at it. I think it's kind of ridiculous that they get a half a point for a player sitting out, if I'm being honest. I think that should change. I think, how many times has the envelope rule taken effect, though, in Ryder Cup history? 3 times, I think it was? Okay, yeah. This was the 4th. So it's very rare that it happens. But, it could happen at any Ryder Cup. I don't like giving – and if it happened to us, too, I would say the same thing. I don't think that we should be given a half a point if Harris English was hurt and he was out. It should totally go towards the other team, because it's not our fault that Victor Hovland's hurt.
What are the other 3 times that it happened? Because wasn't one of them at Oak Hill?
Sam Torrance
and Steve Pate.
Steve Pate, yeah.
And Steve Pate was at Oak Hill?
Kiwa.
Kiwa.
Yeah, he was in the car going over there, and it sort of something happened in the car, and he messed up his hand or shoulder or something.
Okay. So that was crucial to that Ryder Cup.
Yep.
I don't remember all the bitching and moaning about that.
And Steve Pate, at the time, was playing really, really, really well. Like, there was a thing about, oh shoot, guys, he's playing hot. Yeah, I mean, it's like in other sports. Seems like in the NFL happens a lot, where all of a sudden there's an arcane rule, it's a rule, whatever, and all of a sudden in the Super Bowl something comes up and it's like, all right, we got to redo this. Same situation in this day and age. If this would have happened 4 years in a row, 4 Ryder Cups in the 70s and 80s, I don't think it's that big a deal. Now it's a big deal.
The other thing that made it a big deal this time around too is let's say the teams were dead square even going in the last round. Nobody would care. Like it's a tie, so you're still even, right? But if one team has to get 85% of the points on Sunday, and that particular situation makes it that much harder, I think that's the circumstance that makes this worthy of a relook.
Yeah. 100%. His neck looked fine to me after the round was over. I mean, no offense, he was sucking beers back, no problem. All right, I'm seeing him on the bus too. Don't miss it. That's Alan and I's guy. I love Victor Hovland.
That loosened his neck up.
Okay.
Yes.
But all I'm saying is that looked pretty good to me afterwards. I'm not saying that he faked it in any way, shape, or form. I love Victor Hovland. I'm just trying to make a joke. So
Based on something Christian said, should warning of the Ryder Cup points be shortened to 6-8 months prior to the guy is hot?
100% it should. 1,000%.
I think we all agree on that.
Okay, who made that comment, Alan?
Mike did.
What's his last name?
Let's talk about the golf course setup.
Mikey P.
Mikey P.
Mikey P.
Well, he also wrote earnings as well.
No, seriously, let's talk about. We only got a few minutes here, but let's talk about the golf course. Let's talk about the setup.
Yeah,
Andy, is there anything? I mean, it wasn't. It was. I saw a statistic. If it was a normal, like I was up there for the PGA Championship. Rough was long, right? I saw one of the comments beforehand where I think one of the European guys made the comment that said, if this was a regular tour event, 18, 19 under would have won.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they wanted a birdie barrage.
But here's my complaint about that. Why? Like the US guys are better drivers. Like they have better driving stats. Are you catering to the fact that you have Bryson on your team? Like is that too big a part of the setup just because one guy tends to hit it like crazy and all over the place?
Yes.
I mean, to me, that's kind of what doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't think they anticipated the weather.
Okay. The weather aside, though, I mean, Bethpage Black is an extremely hard golf course. We all know it. Didn't look that way this week. No offense. I mean, I remember these guys hitting from obviously a fairway or even out of the rough. I mean, the spin that they got out of the rough, these things would hit and just stop. Any green, it didn't matter. You know, I feel like, you know, for a Ryder Cup, you have to make a golf course challenging, rightfully so. But for selective tournaments out of the year, I think that you really need to challenge some of these golfers, and I think that Ryder Cup is one of them. And I don't think that really. I think some of the holes challenged them. Yes, just wasn't expecting it to be that.
I think they need to move this to Augusta National, because then you got the conditions and the risk reward, the match play. You know, so you're setting up the course, but also where you're going to put the tee markers. I don't know. Just that setup. It didn't favor the home team as they're trying to set up to favor home teams.
Well, it certainly doesn't favor the home team when we can't roll the ball into the cup.
True.
I'll say this, though. I think all of these things that we're talking about today, I think all are valid and are things to look at. But the Europeans played amazing golf. Like, how many times did you see an American hit a great shot and then
they backed it up right on
right after it, like that
every single time
and time again.
Yes.
You know what? That's pretty awesome.
Like,
but before I forget, I wanted to one of my buddies, James Honger, up in Long Island. Many of you know Honger, so he was out there watching. He's phenomenal with his youth golf program, and so he's walking the course. And he told me this week that it was clear when he was watching the American players do their practice round and the European players, the American players would hit it onto a green, hit one or two putts, and then move on. The Europeans as a group, where now they know they know the hole locations beforehand. They don't know what day they're going to put it out, but in mass as a group, they'd hit tons of putts to an area. Like they were dissecting the greens way better. And I said, Honger, I've not heard that at all. He's watching multiple groups, all day during the practice round. He's got his youth golfers out there. He said it was completely fascinating to watch the difference between the American team and the Europeans as it applied to how they approach the greens.
He's been a guest on our show before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Bobby, to that point, Bobby, like when you go in there knowing that the Americans are much stronger tee to green, why in the hell wouldn't they be doing just that and trying to make sure that they were good on the greens?
One last point I will make before we get into final thoughts is that I don't know if this was a factor or not mentally with our team, but $200,000 in your pocket at the end of it, not really a bad day either if you win or lose. That's all I'm saying, because I don't think they should be getting paid. You shouldn't be getting paid, period, though. That's my point.
I agree, but that has zero effect on.
It has zero effect on a Scotty Scheffler, but somebody like a JJ Spawn, who obviously he hasn't been playing well the last couple of years. You never know. We don't know.
I think I would.
By the way,
I would think that they all
Spawn.
gave that away. I think they all gave that away, probably.
Maybe.
JJ Spawn showed up also, by the way.
He absolutely showed up.
Spawn was good.
But again,
100%.
talk about form. Like, the guy was in form all season, you know.
Yeah.
18th green, because my tee time goes off in like 10 minutes. Christian Azamis, what do you got?
First and foremost, Andy, good luck this week. All right, go kick ass like I know you will, and we'll be rooting for you from the sidelines. Is there live scoring?
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool. We'll send
Texas
the link.
Texas Golf Association.
All right. Well, I'll be looking at that, and then also too. I know I said it, but something funny is that maybe take the Europeans or the Americans at plus money like I did this year with the Europeans to win some cash. Just saying. Like I said last night, take the under 7.5 and then go Yanks.
Bingo,
right?
You got that right.
Oh, that's all I'm saying. I'm not a good sports bettor, but I do have some saying here and there. That's all I got. And I'm jet lagged, so I'm tired.
So, we did talk about a lot of things, and I just alluded to this before. It is, one of those things that you can dissect after it's done, but the European players played great golf, right? I don't think it's unwinnable for the U.S. if they play great golf in Ireland in 2 years. So it comes down to the golf. It's too easy to dissect and bisect and pull apart everything, but it's all about the great golf.
Andy had mentioned that when Steve Pay happened, we really didn't hear much about it. That's because something that I talked about this past week is there's just too much noise. There's too much. There was no social back then. There was no media trying to get clicks, and that was something that drove me crazy this past week. Is if there's a hot take or a story that's worth talking about, do it, but don't try to create things. This environment doesn't need that because it only makes things even worse.
Totally agree.
Bobby.
Yeah, I need a whole back nine here, not just an 18th green. So we'll get to more of this. I think it deserves it. Hopefully we've got something coming on pretty soon. But I totally agree. I was just going to mention what Brendan said. In our text threads, the Ryder Cup has become now so white hot. It's over the top. It's almost going to implode like a dwarf sun or something like that, which is a shame. And I hope it does get back to what it's doing. And I'm liking all the European stuff. I mean, those guys are just so likable. The team effort, nothing against the U.S., but they played so incredibly well. Like it was. The Americans were knocking in there 5 feet. I remember Lowry and a couple of guys knocking in 3 feet. Roy hit it in like a couple of feet, closer to somebody. So they played great. At the end of the day, this massive event that creates massive revenue for the PGA America. You got 2 national award winners. Brendan, where's your ring?
Oh, right there.
Yeah, you got 2 national award winners here that if we could ever get some of that money down to Brendan and I and thousands of other PGA members, you really want to grow the game. We know how to do it. Brendan won youth golf leader. I won player development. I hope the money gets in the right spot. That's a whole nother show. That deserves way more focus to where all this money is going to go as well.
That is another show all in itself, but I'm just going to conclude by simply 27 started Monday, and if I'm the U.S. Leadership, I would be learning how to hit mid irons because Adare Manor is going to be set up that way, and maybe practice your putting a little bit.
A little bit.
Putters and more putters. Andy, good luck.
Andy, good luck.
Boys.
Get him, Andy.
Boys.
Fire with the pen.
You only have one opportunity to sell your golf property. Shouldn't you partner with an expert that offers you 30-plus years of golf industry experience, combined with the reach of a global leader in real estate? Colliers International Golf Brokerage and Advisory Services understands your unique business needs. Whether it is brokerage, management, and consulting, be reassured that the market leader in the business of golf is providing you the real answers and practical solutions you deserve. Contact Golf Talk Live co-host and Colliers Golf Advisory Services member Alan Depew today at 717-554-8519. That's 717-554-8519.